We'll call the meeting to order. Roll call vote, please. Or roll call.
Kolpak?
Here.
Pepcorn?
Here.
Turnberg?
Here.
Strand? Mahoney?
Here. We have a presentation by the Fargo Assessment Department. Mike?
Thank you. Good morning, Mayor and Commissioners. Today we will be conducting the Board of Equalization meeting and accepting any appeals that are present from the floor or online. Before we get to that, we will be going over a general review of the real estate market for the last year and the efforts that our office has been making during that time. This Board of Equalization is being conducted pursuant to North Dakota Century Code 57-1103, which states that the board may change the value of any property as is reasonable to render taxation uniform and to equalize and correct the assessment roll. The Assessor's Office follows state law in conducting its duties, including the following. All properties are taxable unless expressly exempted by statute. The property assessment as of date is February 1 of each year. In setting the values, we must strive to reflect the true and full value as defined by law. And in practice, what this means is that in general, we cannot make incremental adjustments to the value. Real property means land, improvements, structures, and buildings, and any property that receives an increase of both 3,000 and 10% of the value must be issued a notice of increase. So while we are supposed to strive to set all property values at the true and full value, the State Board of Equalization allows a variance of 90 to 100% on the sales ratio studies. So when we take the current assessed values divided by the sales price, we get what is called the sales ratio. The middle ratio of all the sales has to be between 90 and 100%. If that ratio is below 90%, then we have to look at increasing the values. If that ratio is above 100%, then we have to look at decreasing the values. This year, our commercial sales ratio was 97.2 before reappraisal and 96.4 after reappraisal. So while we were in compliance overall, we had a few property types that were selling for less than our values, and that was office spaces and apartments. They were showing a softening in the values, and the sales ratios were either at or above 100%. To keep those specific property types in compliance, we had to lower them by about 5%. The residential sales ratio was 91% before our local efforts and 94.9 after. So overall, this indicates that our commercial values were on the low side, or on the high side, and our residentials were on the low side. We also adhere to professional standards proposed by the IAAO. This slide shows where our COD and PRD landed, showing good uniformity and equalization overall. The IAAO also suggests that we review each property every 6 years, but we strive to review those every 5 years. And this map shows that where the areas of town that we try to hit in that quintile or every 5-year schedule. So this last summer, we did area 1, and this summer we will be doing area 2. So overall, the real estate market is what I would say is relatively stable. We have not seen strong price increases like the last few years, and no significant increase in foreclosures. The interest rate shows only slight changes up and down, yet despite all of that, the median price of the single-family dwellings has increased, which I'll show you in just a couple of slides. The number of commercial sales in 2024 was about 11% than the previous year. This again is demonstrating that slight softening in the commercial market. In 2024, we had around 5% more residential sales than 23. During that time, the median sales price increased by around 4%, showing a stable and still strong market, considering that last year this metric went up by only 0.5%. I show this table each year, demonstrating the Fargo market in comparison with the home price index of other cities. This is, again, not a direct comparison of Fargo's home price to other cities, but just a graphic to show Fargo's market activity compared to the index for these cities. Our office has conducted a residential and commercial reappraisal this year. These are the stats of our efforts. We sent around 6,100 notices of increase this year, and we adjusted values on around 18,000 properties, whether up or down. Of note, we sent about 7,500 requests for review and were granted access to 2,700 properties. This equates to an access rate of about 36.5%, and that is up from last year. And here's the results of our efforts. We have a total of $23 billion in true and full value in the city of Fargo, with residential making up slightly more than commercial this year. And this is around 4.75% increase over last year. And this slide shows the breakdown of those property values by property type. So for 2025 taxable valuation, the projected taxable value is $882,900,000, with the majority of that being new growth. And a mill is worth $882,900. This table shows the change over the last 25 years, with the average being about 6.9%. And again, this is of the taxable value increase. This table shows the overall trajectory of the taxable values. Roughly speaking, since 2014, it takes about 3 years for the taxable value to grow by $100 million. This slide shows the total taxable value by school district for 2024, according to the Cass County. You can see that School District 1 accounts for about 67% of Fargo's taxable value and 33% of School District 6. And that portion of Fargo accounts for about 45% of School District 6's total taxable value. This slide shows the mill levy breakdown, with the city accounting for 19% of the overall mill levy. The discretionary exemptions are controlled by the City Commission. The amount of these has slightly declined in the last year, with remodeling being the exception. The non-discretionary exemptions are granted by statute without the discretion of the Commission. Of note here is the jump in the religious schools, and the homestead credit increased slightly, but this number is still fluid. Last year we received about 1,600, we've received at this point 1,600 applications for homestead credit, and last year we received around 1,900. The state moved the deadline for this to March 31st, and so we are still waiting on some outstanding applications. So we expect that number to go up. The tax increment financing saw some changes this year with the Horse Park and the FM Development Phase 2 TIFs expiring and the new block TIF coming online. The total value of the TIFs makes up about 1.29% of the total taxable base, and this is up slightly from last year. This is an informational slide about the homestead credit. With the legislature being in session still, this could change, but as of right now, this credit gives, for those who are over 65, up to $200,000 of the true and full value of their home. Credit if their household income is less than $40,000 per year, and a credit of up to $100,000 of the true and full value is available to homeowners with household income between $40,000 and $70,000. And right now, with the legislature in session, what's being suggested is that for the homestead credit, they may be upping the income to $50,000 for that bottom tier for the full credit, and then the the second tier between 50,000 and 80,000 for the half credit. And then there's also a suggested motion out there for the disabled vet, the going from $180,000 to up to $200,000. So speaking of disabled veterans credit, this is available, and right now, currently, like I mentioned, they get a credit for up to $180,000 of the true and full credit, and this can be coupled with the homestead credit. The state does offer assistance for the special assessments on properties. The applicant must be eligible for the homestead credit, and the program creates a lien against the house when it sells. The City of Fargo also offers assistance for special assessments. The homeowner must be income eligible and also occupy the residence. An annual application must be submitted to the city's special assessment staff. Last year, over $57,000 in assistance was granted to 200 low to moderate income households. And this is paid out of local funds, so it is granted as funds are available. A lot of our assessment information can be found on fargoparcels.com for property owners' convenience. And after any other questions, we can open the meeting to appeals from anyone present or online. The process here shows that we first review the property to verify information accuracy. Then we look at market data to see if we can support the value, and look at comparable properties to see if they are assessed similarly and values are equalized for equity purposes. Next, we inform the appellant of our findings and what we will be recommending to the board here at the reconvene. As part of our process, we will not be making any recommendations today on appeals, since we still have outstanding appeals to deal with. We will be giving all the recommendations to the commission at the reconvene of this meeting later this month. And at the end of accepting these appeals from the floor or online, we will have 3 motions before you to handle before we recess.
So each commissioner has a list of people that are already appealed. It's 3 pages long. Anybody in the public, if you'd like to appeal, please come to the podium. Commissioner Pipcorn.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I have a couple questions for Mike. On page 15 of our booklet, and I think it was slide 16, where it talks about the change in the amount of discretionary exemptions and also the change in non-discretionary exemptions. A couple of them, the pilot, the Renaissance zone, and daycare especially, it went down. And I guess my question is, obviously we have a challenge with daycare. Can you explain that? Do they not apply for exemptions, or do they expire? Can you talk about that?
Yes, to a certain degree, I can explain part of it. Part of it is that, yeah, they're just not applying for it. Maybe they're not aware of it. Some of this is that it's very early in the year, and a lot of times they just don't realize that there's a deadline for these things, so they end up applying later. So, I mean, those would be the 2 factors that probably the 2 greatest factors.
Okay, and then just one more. To me, this is the biggest number. The pilot, it was 57 million, and it dropped 30% to 39 million. Can you talk about that?
Yes. So this pilot is specifically the one that is actually granted by the state. And we had property owners, it changed hands, and they weren't aware that they needed to apply for the state. So I think that they are working with the state right now for that, to get that in place. But that's part of this. And then part of it is that some of these expired as well.
So Mike, can I ask you for a favor? The ones that expired, if you could, at our next meeting, if you could get us the precise numbers as to the amount that declined, I'd appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's all my questions.
Anybody else have a question before we start the public? So if you want to come up and appeal, you come up to the podium to the left, give your name, if you would, please, and address, basically, and then say what you need to say. You don't have to pass them out, hon. You could give them to the assessors, and they'll look at it.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Dana Woodruff. I'm a resident in North Fargo at 746 Elm Street North, number 8. It is a condo building that was built in 1976. We have 3 buildings in the association. Each one has 8 units. The 8 units have variable sizes. In my particular building, there is 8 units. I am not appealing the conditional assessment of the unit, which is average, which is true for most of our units. But what I want to talk about a little bit is a data modeling error. Those darn computers. So the way that, and I did speak with somebody from the assessor's office last week, and that helped me understand a little bit about the process. But sample size error is a very, very true thing. And the way, when you only have 8 units and you've had 3 sales in 5 years, the average age of the building is well into the 70s. You know, most folks in our complex, we've got one that's a 3rd generational owner, so there are just not a lot of sales. So sales data is hard to come by. So this creates a sample size error. And in the case of this particular building, that sample size error from having so few sales has a 47% margin of error, which kind of shows up because the year-over-year increase, proposed tax assessment increases in my building for 6 units is between 27 and 53% increase year-over-year, and 2 units, very negligible decrease, basically flat. You wouldn't really expect that in one building. But right across the street, we have another building that same siding, same colors. If it wasn't built by the same developer, they must have been best friends because these buildings are extremely, extremely similar. Even the elevators are, they're kind of the old school, you pull the little metal thing back, you know, but so if you include that building that's directly across the street, now you're going to have 14 units, and over the course of 5 years, if you include the 2025 sale of a unit, now you have 8 sales, which still is not a huge number, but when you put that into the data model, your margin of error goes down to 27%. So that is a 43% decrease in that margin of error just by including the building across the street. So that is a lot of the basis of my appeal is just that the computers kind of got it wrong, which is why I'm very grateful that there's some humans involved to rein in the computers. The second issue that actually both of these buildings have, yeah, I'll keep going on this a little bit, is that, and the computer, of course, would have no way of knowing this, that on April 1st, the Planning Commission, as of now, has approved a 120-foot cell tower, which National Association of Realtors and pretty much everything I found online is properties within the visual range of something like that sees an effect. When I talked to the assessor's office, I did also see they'd mentioned that 94.9% was an important metric for their office. So when I put these 2 buildings, when I consider them as a whole and find the median value, which I was told is the preferred metric, I get a median value of $113.32. When you take, that includes a 10% decrease for the tower, which is on the conservative side of property devaluation. Then when you take 94.9% of that adjusted square footage cost, I did normalize the data by using cost per square foot, then you get to $107.55. For me, at $107.55, that is still a 14% year-over-year increase, which is 3 times the amount of the residential average. Not super happy, but I can live with it. And in this sheet, I've got how other units are affected, but certainly nothing's more equal than each unit having the same cost per square foot, although the one unit that's classified as good, I guess would have a little bit of bump above that. But I don't know what that formula is, so I didn't include it on my paper. So that is my request, is that rather than having square foot values that range between $106 and $173 a square foot, that we be equalized to $107, or at least my unit, since that's the only one I can actually speak to, is at $107.55.
You can give your papers to the team over here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hi, my name is Kay Malmy, and I'm Dana's neighbor. She ran off some numbers for me too. My big deal is, and I talked to Teresa, so I'm going to cut this very short. My big deal is $60,000 raise in 1 year is ridiculous, as far as I'm concerned. My value of my property has not gone up $60,000 in the last several years, much less 1 year. So going up 33.5% in a year, to me is, I'm speechless. I was speechless over it. I can't say any more than that. It's a ridiculous amount.
Will you let them in your place to see it?
I already did.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Thank-
Teresa was there yesterday.
Okay, so you're
Absolutely.
appealing it and you've told the team, right?
Pardon me?
You're appealing your taxes and you gave it to the team, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I just wanted to, I'm just crabby about it. That's all.
No, I understand. That's fine. Next.
Good morning, my name is Dan Coombe. Property address is 6891 23rd Street South. All I'm trying to do is appeal the appraised value. So right now we have an appraised value of $645, brings me $183 a square foot. When I compare it to all the essentially identical properties down the street, they're all in their average price per square foot is $143. So I just wanted to start the appeal process. I wasn't quite sure what to do. So I guess I ran through it. We purchased the property in December. We have a certified appraisal and everything. So I just wanted to start the process.
No, that's fine. You have a right to do that, and they'll look at it and they'll do comparisons and do that and run your property. Sometimes it goes down once the team looks at it.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next, please.
Hi, I'm Cindy Butke. I live at 2939 8th Street North. It's a condo. It's 4 units. What I did call Michael Brown, and he sent me some paperwork and it kind of explained how things are done. But my valuation also went up 30% in 1 year. This is a property that is 65 years old. It's 4 units. It's a townhouse style, but it's a condo. I understand that, property valuations have increased, but if assessments are only done once every 5 years, this is ridiculous. I have all my my property tax statements, and they've gone up. Last year they went up, but before that they had gone up about 8 years ago, and I did appeal and they came out and reassessed it. But like I say, 30% in 1 year is just too much to, to take. When Zillow says the 1-year value change in Fargo was 4.7%, is what the values of property in Fargo went up in 1 year. I mean, I understand valuations go up over the years, but maybe the assessor's office needs to do these assessments every year, not once every 5 years or 8 years. If there was a mistake, they're evidently not doing their jobs. I've made no improvements the last several years, so for that to go up that much is just ridiculous. The one comment that I kind of took exception to, I do want to reiterate that your homestead credit is applied, your net property value is 0. That's not the point. Just because I get a homestead credit doesn't mean that my tax valuation should go up. Somebody's got to pay that, whether it be the state of North Dakota, the taxpayers through sales tax, or anything else. The valuation is still, that tax is going to be paid by somebody, even if it's not me.
So we'll take a look at it. You let them in the house or the condo to see it?
Yeah,
Okay.
have they,
You give your paperwork to the people if you'd like.
thank you.
Next, please.
My name is Warren Ackley, and I'm here about a property at 2121 43rd Street South. It's the CI Apparel building, and our property value went from 1.9 million to 6.2 million this year, which I understand some of it, but it seems like it's an extreme amount. It's 38% increase. It amounts to 9% a year since we went into this building. I have the appraisal from when we finished the building in 2020, and that appraisal is it that was required to get our bank loan, and that came in at 3.9 million. And so we haven't done any improvements since then. That's when we started. And now to get this new fee of 6.2 million, it seems somewhat extreme. Again, the bank requested the appraisal. That's what it came in at. 4 years later, to see this 38% increase, it does seem a little bit unreasonable. So I would ask that you would look at that. As far as when they sent me back the letter saying, no, this is all valid, they talked about the land evaluation. Well, the land in our area is very restrictive. So even though we have 7 acres, it's a lot of property, we can't sell the land to an outside person. So it's still restricted to what we have. No one can build on other than us. We could build on it, but we choose not to. And then also, there's restrictions on height restrictions. There's a lot of covenants in that area that the owners of the property put on when it was first developed. So if you see the building or the land next to the animal hospital out there by our facility, that's been for sale for years. And why? Because there's so many restrictions on the property. So it doesn't make the value of the land any greater. That's going to be going down. That land is going to sell for cheaper. And maybe you know this, but the animal hospital wanted to build on that piece of property, but the restrictions from the other people in the development restricted them to a height of their building of 2 stories, so they were not able to build on there. So it does bring the land value down. I don't know if that is considered at all in the evaluation, but it's something we should look at that. I'm not saying that you should look at this because you feel sorry for us. We did move out there during COVID. We had 130 people that we were working with for 20 years. We moved out there, and we moved out there March 13th of 2020, and then COVID happened, and 90% of our business shut down. Then we started, couldn't get our product. Then we got hacked by the Russians, so we were shut down again. So the last 2.5 years, 3 years have not been good for us. And so to see the property and everything go up like this, it's a big handicap for us. As of right now, we're almost, we're back to 120 people working for us. And we hope to add more to that. But it's been a struggle. And I feel bad for our employees. I feel bad for the ownership, and this will be a handicap for us. So I would just like to look at it again. The land values and the appraisals, I think, are a big deal.
We'll look at it. Thank you, Warren.
Thank you.
Next. Anybody else?
Good morning, I'm Paul Anderson. I'm representing Anderson Investments, 2 properties, one at 2015 First Avenue South and one at 2020 Main Avenue. Both those properties are rented to Fargo Tire Service. And our increase between the 2 properties is over 20%, and I think that's a little ridiculous. And what was said earlier today, one of the opening slides, is the North Dakota Centric Code, and I did not get the number, says that it's got to be reasonable increases. These ladies talked about 30-some% increases. I don't think any of these increases that you guys are talking about are very reasonable, and we will be appealing this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Paul. Next. Anybody else want to speak?
Good morning. I'm Tammy Norgard. I have a residence in Osgood, 4115 58th Street South. I'm here. I haven't been planning to come and appeal, but after last weekend, I talked to one of my neighbors who's an appraiser, and she really encouraged me to have this looked at. 2 years ago, my house was valued at $824,000. I thought that was pretty reasonable. My 2 neighbors sold for in the $700,000 and $800,000, very similar finishing. My house is 14 years old. It's not this new beautiful house or anything like that. And 2 years ago, my property value went up $100,000. And then this year it went up over $300,000. So I'm at over 1.2 million, and that's a 45% increase in 2 years, 30% last year. And I have been at the State Board of Equalization the last couple of years representing clients, so I understand this process and I understand what goes into valuations. I understand the mass appraisal process, and I'm just a little baffled in how my house could have gone up $300,000 this last year. Especially when my neighbor now, the third one over, the 2 sold, the third one over, has her house listed for $789,000, and she's an appraiser. That's her job, home appraising. And she's the one that our houses on the interior are very similar, 2 stories. Her lot is similar to mine. My lot is actually next to some 0 lots that are my 2 nearest neighbors on that side are assessed at $300,000 and $400,000. So she has a superior lot over mine. I have 1 more bedroom and 700,000 more feet, or 700 more feet, sorry. And so I really look forward to working with your office and kicking off an appeal, because I just think this is something that needs to be reviewed. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tammy. Is there anybody else?
My name's Josh Smoke. We're at 5507 53rd Ave South. We're a commercial unit down south. And in the last 5 years, our assessed value's gone up by 58.9%. Just this year, it's going to be a 10% year over year, or excuse me, going into 25, it'll be a 10%. Last year, it was a 21%. And that puts us up over $570,000 in 5 years. I pulled some comparable data from similar buildings on our same avenue, and the average increase from 2020 to 2024 is 41.2%. That is unreasonable. That is far above what is reasonable for any small business to attain. Comparable sales in units go for far more than probably what the assessed value is. I don't know if that has anything to do with how they actually assess our overall value, but looking at some of the properties, some of the specials have been paid off or they've been lumped into the actual sale of the property. I called yesterday to speak with the assessor's office and was told I didn't need to, so I have not started the appeal process yet, but we do look forward to seeing what happens.
Yeah, we accept this as your appeal right now, so if you give your paperwork, if you want to give something to the assessor's office.
Good morning. I'm Jeff Reynolds with Northern Improvement Company. We are appealing our inert landfill that's located on 4716 7th Avenue North. We've been operating there under the North Dakota DEQ license for inert landfill construction material for over 30 years. This year, last year, our assessment was 2.75 million and increased to 4.9 million this year with no improvements being made. So just want to be aware that, you know, some of the property around the areas in the industrial park, getting assessed values, been working with Liz on that. So just like you to take a look at that, and we'd have to make a vast amount of improvements to make that the same value as these other neighboring lands.
Yes.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Excuse me. My name is Kyle Kennett. I'm an employee at Walmart located in Bentonville, Arkansas. It's great to be here in Fargo this morning. Just wanted to formalize the appeal process on the two super centers located here in Fargo. To the best of my knowledge, we've never formally contested these two properties. And what we're basically seeing is these properties are so unique in size. There's not much sales transactions that takes place for these stores. So we engaged a third-party appraiser that's certified in North Dakota to take a look at it. He wrote up an appraisal that I've shared with the assessor's office just yesterday. So again, this is just kicking off the process. Happy to work with the assessor's office and look forward to our resolution.
Thank you. Anybody else? See a couple people sitting here that came in. Did they just come to watch or didn't want to appeal? We're all okay?
Can we ask for anybody that's online?
Is anybody online, please?
All right, so we can go to this next list of motions that I've presented before you, and just need a motion on each one of them.
So we have three motions that had in front of us today. Number one is to move all appeals present today by list or in person into a pending status. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Kolpak,
Aye.
Strand,
Yes.
Pepcorn,
Aye.
Turnberg,
Aye.
Mahoney,
Here. Yes, aye. The second motion is to approve all evaluation in the 2025 assessment roll. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Kolpak,
Aye.
Strand,
Yes.
Pepcorn,
Aye.
Turnberg,
Aye.
Mahoney,
Aye. And Mike, did you have any other comments before we move to recess to the final motion?
No, well, actually, yes, I do. Just so that you guys are aware, all of these, this motion that you just did, basically, what's that is doing is that's certifying all of the other values that have not been appealed. So at this point, no other if anybody calls, they can't appeal at the city level any longer. It'll be forwarded on to the county. So they can still appeal at the county level, but no longer at this level, so.
Mr. Strand.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just curious about looking forward, and I don't know how relevant this is today or not, but when the legislature is talking caps, are they talking caps on valuations or budget caps?
You're talking about caps on your taxable property, and if you go to page 9, John, we will be allowed the new growth of 4.39, and if you see market increase, it's only 0.17. So as far as I understand it, Mike, you would be allowed 3% on that 1.7, up to 3%, but no higher.
And bear with me now, if we have a cap on the high side, looking at what's going on in the economy today, and who knows what it's going to be tomorrow, is there a cap on the bottom side? So for example, say the bottom falls out of the market. Is there a cap dropping how much the valuations drop, or is that unlimited? When there's a cap in raising costs?
There's no, if they have to follow the property value 90 to 100%. So they'll follow that. And as we know, office property, we think in the commercial is dropping a bit, and there are some things that they are going to be dropping a bit right now. So, but that'll be reflected next year. This is equalization for this year.
But there's no cap going down?
No, there isn't.
Yeah, and the cap does not affect, at this point, it doesn't affect the true and full values. It's strictly on the budgetary process. So yeah, we would have to continue to follow the market at this point. There is a suggested bill out there about also capping the values that we do. And we're hoping that it doesn't go forward because it's going to cause a lot of problems for us. But that's also what they're saying is a 3% cap on the taxable values of individual properties. And that would create a lot of inequity from our perspective that's been tried in many other states prior to this, and it never really works. It's been repealed. But that bill it's not dead yet. It's been proposed and still being looked at, so.
So the final motion is moved to recess City Board of Equalization until April 29th at 7:30 a.m. to complete the pending appeals. Is there a motion?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Strand?
Yes.
Kolpak?
Aye.
Turnberg?
Aye.
Mahoney?
Aye. Is there any other business that we have at this time, Mike? Are we okay? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.